had a ring to it or a tone that just wasn't any good. Well, hey there. This is Edward Crans, the Honey Badger Binder of Bookforge. Welcome to Bookforge Live. The binder is a mess. The bomb went off in here. I'm completely disorganized. I am not ready for this session. So this is a fly by the seat of my pants. This is definitely going to be a voyeur type of situation where you're going to watch me just do stuff because I really don't have anything planned per se. I definitely have some stuff that I need to do. One of them is cleaning off this desktop because holy shit. Couple announcements. Let's see, what do we got going on? So at the beginning of this year, a couple days ago, we launched Bookforge Atelier. We launched Bookforge Review. So that was Monday and Tuesday. Today is Bookforge Live, which we've been doing for a while now, but kind of continuing in that vein. And this weekend, I have two online demonstrations. One is what I call the undervalued pamphlet stitch, and we'll cover a little bit of history of the pamphlet stitch and what it means and how it was used and how it's currently used and how it relates to tweeting, how it relates to modern social media. So I'm going to kind of tie a lot of history together from the French Revolution, maybe before, up until modern times. I'm going to do a demonstration of 3-hole, 4-hole, 5-hole pamphlets. It's a free session. It's already packed. It's booked. So there's no more seats available. I've got like 65 people on a Zoom meeting with this thing, and but frankly, it's a lot. But it's going to be free. It's going to be short, but it's going to be kind of cool. And I ended up getting interested in the history of the pamphlet because I don't even have one handy here, but I created this little pamphlet for the lost coffee verses of Genesis, and a little bit of religious coffee humor, and I sell them at market. They're kind of fun, but in figuring out what's the proper way of binding this, what does a pamphlet stitch really look like historically, I came across this entire rich pageantry of history with the pamphlet. So that'll be on Saturday, 10 a.m. until noon or 1, however long that lasts, however long I feel like talking. And then on Sunday, we're going to do a quick demonstration of what is known as Japanese stab binding, which I kind of consider that a misnomer because the Japanese aren't really the only ones that do it. There's several countries in Asia that have a very similar binding style, but it was also used in England and in Europe. So we're going to kind of cover that. We're going to take a look at what the pamphlet looked like for religious and social political pamphlets. We're going to talk about what a pamphlet meant to the cats, ways of publishing books, and how serialized books. You would buy a book that was basically pamphlet bound with a paper wrapper, and you buy it a chapter at a time. And when you had the whole book, you take it to a bookbinder, and they would take it apart and bind it together as a book. And then I'm going to show some other cool little modern things. I make these cute little notebooks with a case and the pamphlet stitch. And all right, apparently not going to use that camera because the cats just took it out. I need to get a better setup for this slowly getting things in place. I got this new arm so we can do over the counter. I'm going to see if that camera comes back up. And yeah, hey, it came back up. What do you know? That's surprising. I have a lot of problems with these conversion boxes because my webcams, while they're a good quality Osbot 4K camera, and that one that I'm talking to is AI driven, and it tracks me, and I can zoom in and out and all that stuff with hand gestures. They require to hook up to my Ada Mini Pro. It's my streaming hardware. It is looking for a professional camera with an HDMI port, and these cameras, of course, have USB-C. So I need to have a converter that takes USB-C, powers it, amplifies it, turns it into whatever the HDMI receives. Then I can hook an HDMI cable up to the box, and that sends it to a streaming hardware, which sends it to you guys here on YouTube. But they're a pain in the butt. You have to boot them up in the right sequence, and sometimes it'll take me 10, 15 minutes to get one working. So when the cats do something like that and take one out, I'll eventually have to get some Velcro ties and fasten everything, so if they do happen to go by and take it out, I don't have to worry about it. And that's okay. So where was I? So Sunday, Japanese stab binding demonstration. We're going to do the I'm going to do a demonstration of the 4 major sewing styles and kind of talk about the history of that. So yeah, my weekend's going to be a lot of fun. You guys here on Patreon, sorry guys if you're watching this on YouTube later. The Patreon folks, they're going to end up getting a recorded version of these demonstrations. So if you haven't gone to Patreon here, so this is my moment for a Patreon plug. Patreon is incredible for artists, for creators, because we can, one, create stuff, and you can be a patron of the arts and you can contribute. Now, you can subscribe to my Patreon page, Bookforge, for free. And there's stuff out there. I occasionally publish stuff that is readily available to the general public. I feel that it's if I do a review of an article on something, I don't feel that that's really mine. So I'll release it to my patrons, and then a week later I'll release it to you guys for the public to consume. And then of course I have 3 different tiers currently. I have a $3, a $5, and a $10 tier. One is a book lover, and it's just a very base level. I publish random stuff about books, book collecting, and that kind of stuff. And then the Bookbinder tier, it starts off in the book binding realm, and so there's a lot of like tutorials, my day-to-day activities and projects, and all kinds of stuff that I share there. And then there's the book artist, and that's my top tier right now, though I'm going to add another one. And the top one's going to be patron of the book arts, and it's going to be a $20 tier, and that's really for someone who wants to contribute more. While I feel that the $3, $5, and $10 tiers are fair for what I publish, though I do need to get on the book artist publications because I feel I'm falling behind there. But if you haven't subscribed to Patreon, what I'm trying to say is go to Patreon, look up Bookforge, and subscribe to either the site or a tier. Support the book arts, support my ability to create bookbinding educational content. All right, so I need to get to work. I've got some stuff that I need to gather for. I need to clean this off. Yeah, see, I'm scattered. I'm really scattered right now. So part of the interaction part, how many of you who watch on Patreon or YouTube are neurodivergent? How many of you have ADHD, autism, anything like that? I have massive ADHD. Sometimes it's really hard for me to function. It's one of the reasons I like doing my own business, because if I have a bad day, like I get behind a day, but everyone expects artists and bookbinders to be behind. If I'm working for corporate America and I have a bad day, they write me up. It's not my gig. So, so how many of you guys have? Are you neurotypical? If you're neurotypical, tell me. Let me know what your take is on neurodivergent people, ADHD, autism, all that type of stuff, and how it affects you in your life and your work. And then, of course, if you are neurodivergent, how does that affect it? How do you deal with it? But I'd love to have, I realize that's not really bookbinding topics, but it's a really fascinating topic for me, because while I've always had ADHD, I've always been able to deal with it with little tips and tricks, and I had little things that kept me on track. But since I had my heart attack and the medications and everything I'm on, it's just gotten worse. And I don't know if it's just a natural progression of age, or if it had to do with the heart attack, or if it has to do with the medication, or all the above. But yeah, the last year, it's been a real struggle for me with that. And life goes on. I get my books done. I get my delivered to my clients. I get content for you guys done, and but it takes effort, more effort than I care to admit. All right. That's one of the problems that I have is if there's clutter and chaos, it shuts me down. And so every once in a while I just need to stop, reset, put things away. I feel better. My head works better. This came in the mail the other day. I'm very excited about this. It's the Guild of Bookworkers newsletter. I have not had the opportunity to read it. I'm going to sit it over here with this book, so I need to read this one too. So I talked about Bookforge Review. If you haven't seen the post, I'm going to be reviewing this book. It's Suave Mechanicals, Essays on the History of Bookbinding. Now, this is volume 1. It has, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 essays. And go watch the video talking about this. And so this week I'm going to be reading the first essay and then doing a review on it. When I get done, you'll either know what's in the book, you'll want to go buy the book, or you'll say, hey, okay, I know enough. That's cool. It's a cool book, but I'm not going to spend $85 to $150 on that book. So, yeah, there you go. I'm going to get really close to you. So if this is your first time tuning in, Bookforge Live is a relatively unstructured format where we just have me and the camera. Sometimes I talk to you, sometimes I don't. And whatever is going on at the moment that the camera is on, that's what you get to watch. So I've got a couple Bibles here, and I'm sure that one of these weeks you're going to watch me working on these Bibles. Or I might be making a new book. I'm in the middle of a new book right here. Or in this case, I'm straightening up and getting ready to organize some stuff for the weekend classes. But it's kind of just like life, and it's kind of it's a voyeur type of thing where you're just watching a man work, doing his stuff. Now, recently, this is the first time we're having a live session from 6 to 8. Usually, I've been having it 1 to 3, but there hasn't been a lot of interaction. I'm assuming it's because all y'all are at work. But even folks who watch it after it airs, because I leave these available so you can watch them tonight or tomorrow or the next day or whatever. There's still not a lot of interaction, and I would love for you guys to go down in the comments and say, "Hey, I love this," or "Hey, your lighting sucks," or whatever it is that you want. Constructive criticisms, comments, your own particular insights. Ask a question about what I'm doing if I'm not clear, so I can help clarify it in your eyes. So I was hoping maybe changing the format to 6 to 8 would help with the interaction. Now, caveat to that is my switch and my monitor aren't in here. I'd like to get a monitor for that wall. And that way, if someone does make a comment, I can see it. My computer currently is in the next room. But for me to bring a switch and a monitor in here, the next thing I need to pick up is a 50-foot Cat5 cable. Because I need to be able to bring my streaming hardware in here to have a monitor in here. So, and my router is on the other end of that room. So, yeah, I think you get the idea. Now, from time to time, I can check the phone and see if anyone's made a comment, but I can't stay on the phone for very long. Obviously, you guys didn't tune in to watch me talk on the phone, now did you? Or not to talk on the phone, but you know what I mean. Whatever these kids do today with looking at the phone. Some stuff that needs to be put away, but I'm just sitting in there. Aiden's girlfriend, Micaiah, made this little Fimo worm for me to set my brushes in. So I haven't used it yet, but that was a Christmas present. Really nice. If you're wondering what these are, they're little shredded wheat, mini wheats. I need to order some more Ramie. This is Thor. The dragon scale binding that I'm working on. We'll see this at a time. Huh. All right. You ever forget you were working on something? So I got these books that I've relined. They got new linings on them, period accurate headbands, and they are getting ready to be cased back in, and I just completely let these slip my mind. All right. Well, I know right. Be right back. Yeah, the last couple of weeks, my household got hit right before Christmas with back-to-back flu and then COVID, and so that derailed me. And then we had the holidays, Christmas, New Year's, blah blah blah, and that continued to just derail me. And I haven't quite hit my groove back again. So that's definitely a project I need to start working tomorrow. And then there's this mess. I don't even want to do this mess, but I'm gonna slide them back there because that's some stuff I don't want to deal with until tomorrow. Mystery Allen wrench. Question is, what did this go to? I'm not sure. I'm just gonna put it over here. And I feel that I have another cold or sickness coming on. All right. It's enough pacing around. What I need to do is I need to get some stuff ready. So I told you one of the demonstrations is going to be making variations of the Japanese stab binding. So there's a cute little book that, I don't know if I made this or one of my apprentices, I don't remember, but I probably made this. Yeah, cute little Japanese binding. You can see the corners. get materials out to take care of this. So I need paper. Grab some paper. I don't know if I want you guys back here. I'm counting these out in groups of 20, and of course they'll get folded in half. Now, a lot of people kind of think of when you put together folios and signatures, you fold it in half, your single sheet becomes 4 pages, or a folio, and you nest them in sets of 4, and that becomes 16 pages. Well, with the Japanese binding style, they do what's called pocket binding, and they fold the paper in half into folios, but it's the open end that gets sewn at the spine, and you end up with what's known as a pocket. So if you take your sheet, you can see that the fold is at the foredge. And so each page or each sheet is a double page. So it's kind of something that if you wanted to sign up and attend the class, you would learn. Their method of bookbinding is a little bit different than Western style. A lot of times if I have an apprentice, this is one of the first books that I have them make, stab bindings. I don't have them do all 4 different styles, but So what do we got here? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Normally I'd have music playing. If I do that, our AI overlords at YouTube and Meta will flag and either delete the video or delete the section of audio, something they hear in the background. It's going to come out to about right. All right, that should be 10 stacks. There's a little bit left over. If it looks a little awkward when I'm going around that corner there, it's usually because I actually work on this side, facing that way, and so I can go back and forth between my benches. But for the camera's sake, I work on that side to show you, but it's a little pinch point over there. So how many are going to keep tuning in because of the cat? Be honest. Avenue C says the internet's for porn, but I think we all know the internet is for cats. And if you don't know what I'm referencing, Google Avenue C. The internet is for porn. It's basically a Broadway Muppet style show, and while the video is not suitable for work, if you're an adult and you grew up with the Muppets, you're going to find it insanely funny. It's not vulgar. It's just funny. I'm not going to fold all 20 books, but I also, during the demonstration, don't want to fold all 20 books there either. I want to fold one. I think if you can't grasp folding a piece of paper in half, then maybe, just maybe, bookbinding's not for you. So I'll get these all set up, and then I won't have to waste this amount of time for the demonstration. So if you're wondering, we have 3 cats here. Thor, Freya, and Thune, or Eden. And we have 1 dog, Loki. Yes, this part of bookbinding is boring. Nothing pretty or glamorous about folding some paper in half. So what I would like to figure out, when I make my videos manually and I put an image, video over a video, this I can size. Running it through the streaming hardware, the Atom Mini Pro, I have not discovered how to change how much room is allotted to this. It's less than 2/10 of the screen, and I would really like it to be 1/4 of the screen. freak the cat out now. It's okay, Thor. So what I did, like I would any other book, I split it roughly in half. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so that's close. 10. And I turned half it around. And put it in here. Another nice thing about having a monitor in here is I have a general idea of where this is, but I can't see how much of this is visible to you. Like it just dawned on me that maybe the cat is blocking that camera. So if you're wondering about the paper, it is a very inexpensive copier paper. The grain is not going the correct distance, but since we're not necessarily introducing glue, we will, but not like you would doing a normal binding. The grain isn't as crucial. I would still say it's important. I would still say it would have an effect on the book, but for the demonstration of the sewing of the stab binding, it'll serve its purpose. Also, these are relatively cheap. once the demonstration is over, they'll go to the local market in the spring and summer. But, now, normally you would use a nice paper. You can use any Japanese, Korean paper for this. You can use Mohawk Superfine, Cougar Natural, or you can use art paper. I've made a version of the Japanese stab binding with a guarded section to allow it to flex open a lot easier, and they've become watercolor books, and I've had some become photo albums. So this isn't necessarily like going to be a demonstration of all the different variations that you can do with this particular binding style. It's meant to be an introduction to, okay, these are the 4 most common sewing patterns and how to put it together and the fundamentals of it. Hey, boy. How you doing?
You're not recording?
I am. Say hi. Hi. It's my son, Aiden. What you looking for?
Academic commendations from the school and Army.
Oh.
My MIT application.
That at all? Have you eaten yet?
No, I'll go in a minute.
Okay, I gotta be into the second stack. All right, let me count these out. Not paying attention. So did anyone out there in live land pick up on what I was talking about with the paper grain? Is this a new term for you? A new concept, or are you familiar with paper grain and why you want it to run parallel with the spine? Can't hear you. My cat thinks that my monitor speaker is scratching post. I'm never thrilled about when she does that. So paper grain. You have a sheet of paper. And when this is made by a machine, rolls along a conveyor. Now, when it's cut down like this, it's really difficult to determine, well, did it roll down this way or did it roll down this way? So you need to know, is my paper grain long or is my paper grain short? Now, I happen to know that the paper grain in this paper is long. That means I should be folding it like this. But unless I'm making a book of lists, that's not going to work. Now, the reason you want to do that is all your material, the grain should be running parallel with the spine. The reason for this is, one, all the material should be running in the same direction. It works together much better, the geometry and the physics of it. The other reason is when you introduce glue, glue has moisture. If you're using PVA, it has the least moisture of all of them. If you're using a wheat paste, you've got more moisture, and it goes into here, into your fold. Well, yeah, goes into your fold, and it'll cause ripples in a strange direction, and it's really, really frustrating when you make a book and it's like that, and it doesn't want to open right. Now, this particular book, because of the way it's sewn and the way it's made, I am not concerned about the grain direction. Most other books, I pay it quite a bit of attention. If you're using a handmade paper, they don't necessarily have a grain direction, but they can. So you want to definitely do tests. You can go like this, say, okay, how easy is that? How easy is this? Now it's so minute, and maybe it's because I already know that the grain direction is this way, but the paper just wants to fold this way, where here there's a little bit of resistance. And that's one way. There's several ways of testing. That is the quickest and easiest, and if you can determine it from that, you can stop there and move on. Other methods involve cutting strips and maybe water. It's just better. It's really nice too if you buy a sheet and whoever made it, whoever's selling it, manufacturer, vendor, says this particular paper is grain long or grain short. That way it takes the guesswork out of it. And so if you're buying parrot sheets, a lot of times it'll state that. Why does it seem like there's more than 20 in this stack? I need to sit down and edit section or part 7 or 8, whatever I'm on. I think it's 7 of the 1850 Heirloom Family Bible Restoration Project, and get it out to you guys. I'm sitting at like one episode of that a month, and I'm probably not even hitting that mark anymore. I need to sit down and do that. There's 20 of them. There's a guy who reached out to me, local, and he's trying to learn bookbinding. Wanted to know if I had scraps of leather that he could practice on. So I'm putting together a care package. Hopefully sometime in the next week or so I'll get to meet him, see what he's doing, see what he knows. If you're watching this and you watch a previous episode, and I was talking about doing a springback binding for the Adelaide, I have not had the opportunity to do that. I was going to try and do it live, and the more I started prepping for it, the more I realized that that's really not a project that lends itself to a live presentation. There's a lot of drying time, and it's a complicated structure. So I will, at some point here in the next week or so, actually work on it. I'll shoot the video, and we will get a really detailed tutorial on how to do a springback binding. I make these large ledger style bulleted dateless calendars or dateless diaries, and they're just big and heavy, and they're a lot of fun as a springback. Right there. A couple of them that I've already made. One that's already in the works. And then I want to do a project on making a collapsible book cradle. I made that one for a client. Wasn't sure if he wanted one. I didn't have one handy. So I told him, okay, tell you what, I'll make one for you. I'll send you some pictures. And if you want that one, great. If you want something else, that's great too. If he doesn't take that one, I finally have one in-house that I can show people. Or use. Anybody make any comments? No questions here, Faye? So the question is nobody watching? Or all right, well, I'll keep prattling along. So I've got 4 folded in their press, in case you're keeping count. I'm going to leave 2 unfolded to do on camera. And the rest of these will be in various stages of I'm ready to be sewn. No, I did not just eat your wax. Howdy. What you getting into? Would you mind pouring me a small glass of that? Like one of the little clear ones? Thank you. Leftover New Year's Eve Martinelli's sparkling cider.
Not so flat.
Perfect, thank you.
Oh.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm afraid it's not going to get much more interesting than this tonight. Let me get these folded up. I may sort through that paper bin and see if there's some scrap paper, the right size for the covers. That might be. How about I finish this particular set folding and we switch over to that. We'll take a look at that bin and see if we can find some cover material in the scraps. 2 more to do later. Yeah, really strong flavors really throw me for a loop. All right, let's look at the scrap bin and see what we got. All right, obviously this isn't going to be no good. I use this to glue stuff out. So these are cloths. I had a second piece. That's going to be the problem, is finding something that's wide enough, but I'm only going to get one out of that. Cloth. Most of this is cloth. There's not anything in there worth digging into. All right. So these will work, I think. Not traditional Japanese paper, but they were miscut. And that'll definitely give me, that's one book. All right. A Haji paper, no. Again, not a traditional Japanese paper, but it is wide enough and tall enough to give me a full book. There's that one, there's that one. We'll have 2 books with that kind of paper. And okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3. That'll be book number 4. I like scraps. This one may or may not cut it. That'll be cutting it really tight. I don't know about that. Here we go. I think we hit the pay dirt. So Definitely get one or two out of that. What are you doing, baby girl? Hmm? Right. Definitely too narrow. Too small. All right. The same with this. Too small. Maybe. That's fine. All right, so these are going to be borderline. That's too small. All right, the only thing that I worry about with these is going to have a lot to do with that'll definitely work. That'll definitely work. It's going to be grain direction. That'll definitely work. All right. All right, I think I've got enough cover paper. Hey, baby girl, I need to close this. Can I close this? Will you let me? Yeah? All right, hey, I'm just going to be folding paper for the next hour or so. I think I'm going to call it a night. And we got some cool stuff coming up tomorrow. So we're going to continue where Monday was, what was Monday? We did, I'm drawing a blank. Yesterday was review. the day before was, the book box. Yeah. So yeah, you should go back a day or two. Monday we did the very first Bookforge book box, and that's where I have the Kansas State Library. I've got probably 50, 60 boxes that I haven't seen what's in them for years. And so each week we're going to unbox a box. We're going to take a look at the books inside, just you and me, kind of share that experience of discovery and rediscovery. I'm going to be sorting my personal books out. They're going to go on the shelf. Books of value will be put on a shelf somewhere. And then books that have no value will either be donated or sold or something. But what we'll do is we'll do the unboxing, we'll take a look at the books, we'll talk about them, and then I will pick one or two out of that box, and then I will go to, I've got like 6 different sites that I go to find out what the current asking prices are. And then I've got another site that I go to if I want to find out what the sold or realized value is. And usually when I do work for my clients and assess their book, so I can give them a value so they can decide whether or not the book has enough financial value, or if the emotional, sentimental value overrides that financial amount. If they want me to rebind it, put that time and energy and money into it. So Mondays we're going to be doing book box of the week. On Tuesdays we're going to be doing review, and Wednesdays, of course, we have the live session. And then Thursdays we're going to have the atelier. I don't speak French, so I apologize if I'm massacring that word. It basically means studio, and so that's where we're going to be doing. We're going to be working on a project like the one we're going to do on Thursday for tomorrow is the X book, and it's a basic. I probably have one around here somewhere if I look for it. It's a very basic, kind of an origami style of book structure, and it's a really good, very first book structure to introduce a bookbinder to. So this is just a piece of paper, and as you can see, it's kind of like a pamphlet or a booklet, but the cool thing is it's just one sheet of paper, and you fold it and cut it into this X book, X structure, and they make cute little cards or little art books. Here's one I did with a pig's paper that I made. So you can see the, there we go. Let's, boom, open it up. And again, it's just a folded and cut piece of paper. So I know you're sitting there at home going, oh, I can do that. Had I not shown you what I just did, you would have no idea how to do that. It's not something that readily comes to mind. So our very first atelier is going to be making this. And while it seemed very simple and rudimentary, it amazes me. I look at some of the bookbinding sites, some of the, they're buying fan fiction and stuff like that. Or this most recent one today, the person's like, yeah, I'm trying to rebind this Bible. It's my first project. And they had questions about it. And they wanted to have advice. I was like, my advice is learn the fundamentals of bookbinding before you attack a advanced project like rebinding a Bible. While it is easy to say, if you've ever tried rebinding an old Bible and not knowing anything about bookbinding, you're gonna have a problem. So the ateliers are going to start off very basic, and we'll work on vocabulary, and each one builds off of the next. So the second Adelaide is going to be this little guy. And I made a little cover for it, but it's basically an X book with pockets. And you can put things inside there. But again, it takes a certain level of discipline. There's some vocabulary, and this is a slightly more complex structure. So each outlay is going to build off of the previous one, and they're going to get harder in complexity. So while we're starting off with this one sheet origami, at the end of the year, I would like to end our 52nd project with, I don't know, doing a medieval girdle book or something really complex, or the springback, which I wanted to do as an outlay, but like I said, it's a really complex structure. There's a lot of build, and you're putting in the springs and the levers and all of this stuff. And if you don't have that fundamental idea of how do I bind a book in the first place, making something like a springback, not easy. So yeah. Okay, so I'm going to end this today on that note. Check in tomorrow night. I don't know what time I'll post the outlay, but it will have a video demonstration. It'll have written and photographs. So you should have no problems making something like this. I hope this wasn't too underwhelming, especially if this is your first one. Go back and watch some of the other ones. We do a lot more complicated stuff. Okay, this is Edward Kranz, the Honey Badger Binder of Bookforge. This has been Bookforge Live. We'll see you next week, and check out the outlay tomorrow. Thank you. Have a great day.